you very much for your time this afternoon. Now, you said in the press conference today there'd be a cricket announcement with Cricket Australia. What are we expecting and when can we expect that announcement to be made?
Yeah, look, Cricket Australia will be putting out a statement this afternoon, and that statement will detail what is going to happen with running the test this year. And we've been working with them. We've been working with health. We've been working through the issues that we have faced, and every day there are other obstacles. But what is clear, the test will be played. We're confident we can do it in a safe way, protect players, protect spectators, and protect the state. Look, I'll leave it up to Cricket Australia and the SCG to make their announcement.
Should we also be expecting 50% crowd capacity, or will that be reduced?
Again, we've been working with the SCG about capacity and crowds, and with, of course, the Berala cluster. It is concerning, and even though this morning we were able to announce a zero locally acquired case numbers from after 8 p.m. last night, we already know there will be 2 cases for tomorrow. So therefore, if we can and we should look at those crowd numbers, we will, but we'll be working with the SCG. And as I said, there's more to be said a little bit later on today.
Well, given that it's your government, though, providing the health advice and what they're allowed to do, should we be expecting those crowd numbers below 50%? Surely you could say that.
Well, what I am saying is that we are looking at crowd numbers. What that looks like, I'll leave it up to the organisers of the event to make that announcement. But there is no question. We've been working with them about crowds and how we manage those zones, and there are 8 zones in the SCG, how we manage then the movement of people in and out of the SCG. We're also concerned about weather, possibly over the days of cricket, and what can we do to minimise again the spread. And what we don't want is a super seeding event, a super spreading event with COVID. So we are constantly reviewing, and what we may say today may be even different tomorrow and the next day until the test finally kicks off. But there will be some changes around crowd numbers.
Now, the AMA has been quite outspoken saying that this plan to go ahead with the crowd is at odds with the rest of it. Can you see, despite being so standfast about wanting this to go ahead with the crowd, can you see how health experts and sections of the public are confused by this?
Yeah, look, rightly so. But again, as a state, we've held some major events. We held the NRL Grand Final, the Origin, Everest Day, other race days, the Big Bash. The SCG has hosted something like 20 events already during the COVID period. About 150,000 spectators have gone through, and we've had no cases. So we know if we take the health advice, the expert advice that has got us through the COVID crisis to this point, and then make those commitments, make those changes, put the COVID safe plan in place, work with the organiser and the event hosts, we're confident we can put on a very safe test. Now, is there risk? Of course there's risk. There's risk each and every day. We cannot say there is no risk. It's about balancing risk with health outcomes, outcomes for the economy, and in this case about a major event. And we'll manage all that. But and there will be lots of people from both sides of the argument saying a test shouldn't go ahead, should not have spectators or a crowd. We'll take all that on board, and the final advice through health is to minimise some of the crowd numbers, but at the same time put in place those COVID plans, and we're confident we can do all that.
So, Ms Barilaro, that obviously announcement will come later today, but looking towards the 4th test, concerns regarding Brisbane and quarantine considerations, has Cricket Australia had any discussions with New South Wales authorities about potentially holding the 4th test in Sydney?
No, not at all. And all we're focused is on this very next test that we're hosting at the SCG. The issue around the next test, the following test we've held in Queensland, is really up to the Queensland government. I think what they've put forward today to both teams, both the Australian side and the Indian side, and having a cricket-only hotel, so they've got greater mobility within the hotel, it's a sensible one. And I can't see why the Indian cricket team wouldn't take that up. I'm confident the test post Sydney will be played at the Gabba.
I want to turn to that wedding venue that received the $5,000 penalty. You said today that might not be a sufficient penalty. In your mind, what price would be, what fine would be sufficient?
Well, I said at the earlier press conference that it's regardless of what a penalty or fine may look like, is it enough to be a deterrent? Well, what we want people to actually do is do the right thing in the first instance. And, I want to make sure that the message is clear that the majority, nearly all, those venue operators have done the right thing to this point. But we have had an incident now over the weekend, a deliberate breach of the rules where a venue operator doubled the capacity and should never have done so. Complete breach. Now, the penalty was $5,000. Is it sufficient? Absolutely not. But what could be a sufficient penalty? What we will do is have a look at that. But at the same time, our message is going to be stronger than that. It's not just about a penalty. It's about doing the right thing. The reason Australia, not just New South Wales, but Australia's done well through this pandemic has been because of people working together, industry, citizens and government on health expert advice, doing the right thing. We don't want to penalise. We want to actually work with people. We've seen in Europe, have a look at the cases that have appeared overnight in the UK, or the number of deaths we're now seeing in the US, the largest number in the world. We don't want to be that nation or that state. So it's about working together. But we will review penalties to see if they can become a greater deterrent. But at the end of the day, if you're prepared to break the rules, and regardless of the penalty, well, then that's a bigger issue that society needs to look at.
Now, just finally, obviously 0 cases, but those other 2 which are expected to be included in tomorrow's numbers. If you expect these case numbers to be sustained like this, when would you hope that the Victorian border would reopen?
Well, again, we didn't close the border. I can say that I'm disappointed the border was closed because if we go back in time a little bit, when the Victorian outbreak occurred, we didn't close the border in Victoria until it got to about 140 to 180 cases a day. And then we had to respond, and that was on good health expert advice. Now we've got very low numbers, and yet those borders are closed. And that's disappointing because the impact it has on those border communities, those returning. But, the litmus test has always been consecutive days of 0. Could be 14 days, could be 28 days. But again, that is a decision for the Victorian government, no different to Western Australia or Queensland. It's those governments that have imposed the restrictions and the border closures on New South Wales. All we can do is give them confidence in what we are doing in managing this outbreak. And we've shown that we've done that very well on the peninsula, especially in the southern zone and in the northern zone of the beaches and with the Avalon cluster. We are managing the issue around Berala. And we're showing that we can do this through contact tracing and our health system and our experts. So all we can do is give confidence to those other states that we're on top of it, and then it's up to them to make the decision.
John Barilaro, thanks very much for your time this afternoon.
My pleasure. Thank you.